Welcome to Just a Minute. My name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners, not only in this country, but around the world, but also to welcome to the programme 4 exciting, talented, humorous individuals who are going to display their ability with words and language as they speak on a subject that I give them, and they try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. And those 4 bright entertainers are seated on my left, Gyles Brandreth and Patrick Kielty, and seated on my right, Tony Hawks and Allan Cochrane. Please welcome all 4 of them. Beside me sits Trudy Stevens, who's going to help me with the score and blow a whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And we're going to begin the show this week with Gyles Brandreth. And Gyles, the subject here is the food of the gods. Tell us something about that in this game, starting now.
The food of the gods in ancient mythology among the Greeks was, of course, ambrosia, a wonderful creamy rice pudding diluted with nectar, and on Mount Olympus, Juno, Zeus, and all the rest would gather with huge spoons and tuck in to the food of the gods. Mortals were not allowed this. The food of the gods made you immortal and also very randy. It was an exciting aphrodisiac as well as increasing your longevity. Tantalus was a man from suburbs of...
Tony Hawks, you challenge.
Was there hesitation in there?
Well, I think we could interpret that as hesitation. Yeah. I don't know what on earth you were trying to say. Tantalus went, oh.
Was it not just arousal?
No, I think I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But, Gyles, if I can redress the balance and give it to you sometime, I will. Tony, benefit of the doubt to you. You have a correct challenge. Have a point for that, of course. 27 seconds are still available. The food of the gods starting now.
I'm not hugely knowledgeable on the food of the gods, but I do happen to know that Zeus liked a pizza. And Thor was partial to a bacon bap. Beyond this, it mystifies me as to how I'll manage to get to the end of the second.
Gyles, your challenge.
The sheer ignorance. I mean, this is why Michael Gove is necessary. I mean... pizzas! I mean, no. We've only just begun and they're turning on me.
Well, what's your challenge?
My challenge is hesitation and deviation combined.
No, there was no hesitation. What's the deviation?
There was. I'm sorry. I've read Homer. I know about the food of the gods. I have to tell you that Zeus was not into pizzas. He was into a lot of strange things, and the bacon bap.
I've listened to you on a number of previous shows you've done, and everything you say isn't the gospel truth.
We're not discussing the gospel here, it's the Iliad.
Giles, I give you the benefit of the doubt, because I agree. I'm from on Mount Olympus.
To be honest, I don't want it at all. I'm not... I clearly said everything I had to say.
He didn't have a pizza up there.
The what?
No, he didn't have a pizza up there. The gods didn't have a pizzas.
Homer used to eat pizza on The Simpsons.
Did he? Give him a bonus point for his... All right. Giles, benefit of the doubt to you on that one. You have the subject and a point, of course. The food of the gods. 11 seconds still available, starting now.
Most extraordinary picnic I had once in Regent's Park. It was a food of the gods occasion, and we all came dressed up as different heroic figures from ancient literature. There were no politicians present because I'm above all that kind of thing.
In the game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. It was Gyles Brandreth. He has 2, Patrick has 1, Tony has 1, Allan's yet to score, and Patrick, we'd like you to begin the next round. The subject, apt for you, I'm sure, Irish stew. Tell us something about Irish stew, starting now.
Despite what Gyles Brandreth says, the food of the gods is actually Irish stew, because it contains the 2 greatest ingredients of all time, meat and potatoes. Spuds. So little does Irish people care about any other food group that we are the only island with 3,500 miles of coastline surrounded by seafood that ever starved from famine.
We can't wait for our laughs in this game. Who pressed the buzzer first? Gyles, the man sitting next to you. Gyles, your challenge.
Hesitation.
I'm afraid it was. You came to a full stop, Patrick. You're...
It's just the mention of the famine got me slightly...
You have the sympathy of the audience, so I'm sure you'll be back in again in no time at all. Right. 31 seconds, Gyles. Correct challenge. Irish stew starting now.
Next to the food of the gods, Irish stew is indeed my fantasy dish of choice. And when in my dreams I run off with Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, she and I will share a bowl of this delicious grub together. We shall go to Londonderry, and there, between us, we will have a wonderful tureen full of Irish stew, meat, potatoes, and gravy. And together we will be like characters from the movie Tom Jones.
Alun challenge.
There were several We Will Be's.
We will be, yes. More than one we will be, right. So, Alun, well, listen.
Repetition, yeah.
Yeah, right. You've got him 6 seconds to go on Irish stew starting now.
I once worked on a building site with a chap called Irish Stew, and he wasn't actually from Ireland. He was a 6-foot...
So Allan Cochrane was then speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point, and he's moved forward into second place behind Gyles. And Allan, it's also your turn to begin. The subject is other people's hobbies. Tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now.
Other people's hobbies are often perplexing to me. My hobby is looking at other people's hobbies and thinking, why do they do that? Many people of my age seem to have taken up cycling, partly because of the success of Bradley Wiggins in the Tour de France. I myself have taken up drug cheating because of the success.
I think we know where that was going, don't we?
Repetition of taken up.
You're taken up, that's right. Yeah. Too much taking up there, I'm afraid. Tony, 42 seconds are still available. You have another point, and you have other people's hobbies starting now.
The worst thing about other people's hobbies is that they insist on going on about them. I'm not interested in your stamps or your new bicycle, motor racing, whatever it is that tickles your fancy. Can you not see that I have my own life? My desires are different to yours. Therefore, please meander verbally in another...
Hesitation.
I don't think there was hesitation.
There was hesitation. Oh, he was grinding to a halt, and there was deviation.
I think he was talking rubbish. But
He was also talking about himself instead of other people's hobbies.
It's always nice to have someone defend you by saying, he was talking rubbish.
18 seconds still available. Other people's hobbies starting now.
One day, I'm actually going to take up someone else's hobby immediately after they've started to regale about it. Then I will go to the nearest shop, buy the equipment necessary for this, and then count for how many seconds are left before I have to stop talking.
Patrick, you challenge.
I think he's just rambling, really, isn't he?
Well, you've been rambling all along, but I mean, what's your challenge now?
Hesitation.
I think I hesitated.
But bearing in mind, I supported you on the first one.
If I didn't hesitate, then I was certainly going to, so you just got in a bit early.
So, benefit of the doubt to you, Patrick, and 4 seconds ago, other people's hobbies starting now.
As a fan of Lord of the Rings, I would never steal any person's hobbit. At
the end of that round, Patrick Kielty was speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point, and he's in the lead now with Gyles, Brandreth and Tony Hawks, and Allan Cochrane's only 1 point behind the three of them. And Gyles, it's actually your turn to begin, and the subject now, ignorance is bliss. It's a subject from the starting now.
Ignorance is bliss, and Bliss is a charming young Australian who is waiting for me at the King's Cross Novotel. She is so thick spoke, you would not believe it. But I have promised to educate her, and am taking her on a classical tour of London. Because ignorance is bliss is not true. It's a horrible thing to be...
Alan Challenge.
Deviation.
What?
Well, it's on the card, isn't it? Ignorance is bliss. It's not on the card, ignorance isn't bliss. So surely that's deviation.
I thought we were here to debate the question, ignorance is bliss, and I was debating it.
But you also said that ignorance is bliss and she's waiting for you in a hotel.
Indeed. She is. That's...
Another point of gospel truth, I might just add.
Giles, I gave you the benefit of the doubt last time. It goes to Allan on this occasion. I agree with your challenge, Allan. You have ignorance is bliss, and 40 seconds starting now.
Ignorance is bliss, as can be found by just not watching the news. Everybody seems to take on current affairs and it brings you down. Just reject it. Don't even bother. Have you ever had that feeling where you're on holiday and you read a paper and then suddenly you realise, oh, this is a week old. Still, doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm away. You don't actually need to be informed. It's a wonderful feeling. People are always checking their iPhones during pub quizzes. I like the days when we didn't know things. It was a happy time. Just being unaware of the answers to questions that have been set by a guy with a greasy ponytail. Happy days, indeed. Ignorance is bliss, and I think we all agree that.
So well done, Alan Cochrane. That was well received. You were speaking as a whistlewind. Gain that extra point, and all that effort for 1 point. But he hasn't. Patrick Kielty, would like you to begin the next round. City of Angels, an interesting subject. You probably know a bit about it. Tell us something in this game, starting now.
Los Angeles, or City of Angels, was discovered by the Germans in 1804 and translated from the German literally means a whale's vagina.
You waited for your laugh and you got it.
I didn't wait for anything. There was a buzz.
No, not well, there was a buzz, but that was a different kind of thing altogether.
Well, I challenged, but it was largely on grounds of decency.
Well, he hesitated, didn't he?
He did stop.
He stopped.
Seemed...
I think it's the first time the word's been used in just a minute, Patrick.
Yeah.
I do apologise. I do
That's not
apologise
true,
for
Nicholas.
lowering the tone to Anchorman standards.
No,
Sorry.
don't apologise, Nicholas. Lord Patton will see you later.
And it's not true anyway. We did a show in Cardiff not that long ago.
What's that got to do with it?
We used the word Wales then, didn't we?
Alan Cochrane, he hesitated undoubtedly. So you have the subject, you have City of Angels starting now.
I never realised until just a few moments ago that Los Angeles was called the City of Angels. This is news to me, and I'm not happy with it because I feel ignorance is bliss. I really have never been to Los Angeles.
Giles challenged.
Repetition of Los Angeles.
Yes, Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's not on the card, is it?
No. City of Angels is on the card.
Yeah.
So
He was going to give us... Still, saved us another 50 seconds on why he thinks ignorance is bliss.
I must say, you do demonstrate your attitude of being ignorance is bliss. Right. Giles, the correct challenge. 33 seconds are still available. City of Angels starting now.
I was dating Meg Ryan at the time that she was married.
Patrick challenge.
That's deviation from reality.
Absolutely. I know him fairly well. He never dated Meg Ryan.
It didn't.
Meg from Crossroads, maybe.
Patrick, you have a correct challenge. There are 29 seconds available. City of Angels starting now.
City of Angels is also by the ocean, which, like many places in California, is full of hippy-dippy weirdos who have done themselves the favour of getting as far as the beach, but the rest of us not the service of continuing to crawl into the sea. Not that I'm suggesting for a second that City of Angel is full of vacuous Americans.
Tony challenge.
Repetition of full of.
I'm afraid there was too much full of there. Yes. It's a difficult game, Patrick. 7 seconds for you, Tony, on City of Angels starting now.
If you watch a lot of television, you'll believe that Los Angeles, the City of Angels, is a magnificent place and somewhere we should all...
So, Tony Hawk's the speakers of Whistleblowing gained an extra point. He's moved forward. He's one behind our leader, Giles Brandreth. He's equal with Allan Cochrane in second place, and he's 2 points ahead of Patrick Kielty. They're all very close, and Allan, it's your turn to begin. The subject is giving a backhanded compliment. Tell us something about that in this game, starting now.
I recently met the champion of Wimbledon, Andy Murray, and I said to him, "You really strike the ball back wonderfully on the side opposite the one that your hand is favouring." And he said, "I do love a backhanded compliment." But when it comes to my service game, I couldn't give a toss. And I said, "That's a very good little tennis joke, Mr. Murray. Thank you for that."
Giles, you challenge first.
A repetition of Murray.
I know, unfortunately, yes. 33 seconds, Giles. You've got him on giving a backhanded compliment starting now.
I remember with affection Mr. John Prescott, the man who uses the English language like a Rubik cube, amateur pugilist and former Deputy Prime Minister, who gave a backhanded compliment, literally, to a constituent of mine who happened to accost him somewhere near the city of Chester. And when the aforementioned politician...
Patrick challenged.
A deviation from fact, did he not accost him on the back of the neck with an egg?
What was
The
it,
point
Patrick?
is Mr. Prescott hit him with the back of his hand when he had been accosted.
But that wasn't near Chester.
It was up in the north of England.
That is complete deviation.
That is deviation.
Yes.
It is deviation. But the point is, it was a backhanded compliment.
So, Patrick Kielty, you have the subject. 14 seconds, giving a backhanded compliment starting now.
Before I begin, can I just say what a good-looking man you once were, Giles? How much I admired your early career, Tony, and how well you did with the subject, Allan, for someone from your social background. Giving a backhanded compliment is probably one of...
So Patrick Kielty was speaking then as the Whistleblowing gained that extra point. We have 3 of them equal in second place. That's Patrick, Allan and Tony, and they're just behind Giles Brandreth, who's in the lead. And Tony, it's your turn to begin. The subject now is Edgar Allan Poe. Can you tell us something about that fine author in this game, starting now?
I need Alan Cochrane's help on this one a little bit, because ignorance is bliss. I'm not hugely knowledgeable on Edgar Allan Poe. I'm not...
Allan challenged.
I thought I'd help him out. He wanted my help. So. He was basically asking me to challenge him because he doesn't know anything about Edgar Allan Poe, does he?
Well, it doesn't matter. You still have to try and speak on the subject.
He wanted me
a subject's thrown at you in this game. Attempt to speak on it, even if you know nothing. So you can be fanciful and...
Yeah, but he said he needed my help, and so I interrupted.
Yeah, but I didn't, to be fair, say, would you mind buzzing me and taking the subject?
Oh, that's how I interpreted that.
But that's coming in about 7 seconds.
So actually, he wasn't deviating in the sense of what you said, Allan. So 50 seconds are still available for you, Tony. Edgar Allan Poe starting now.
But fortunately, Michael Gove rang me up 2 days ago and told me a couple of things about him.
Allan challenge.
Well, 7 seconds had gone by, so...
I don't believe that Michael Gove telephoned him, do you? So we call that deviation. Allan, you got the benefit of the doubt. 43 seconds on Edgar Allan Poe starting now.
Under the normal scheme of things, I feel like ignorance is bliss, but Edgar Allan Poe is a keen area of interest of mine, ladies and gentlemen, because he stole several short stories from me. We used to be drinking buddies in West Yorkshire. We'd go to the Ship Inn in Murfield, and I would tell him frightening tales.
Giles.
Deviation leading to repetition. Frightening.
Yeah, absolutely. 24 seconds, Giles, on Edgar Allan Poe starting now.
Edgar Allan Poe, born 1809 in Baltimore, Maryland, was indeed a distinguished...
No, that's not what he told me when I hung about with him. He was way younger than that, Nicholas.
I think, actually, Giles is correct, but we enjoyed your interruption so much, we'll give you a bonus point for that. Giles, you're interrupted. You get a point. 19 seconds available. Edgar Allan Poe starting now.
One of the curious and amusing things about Edgar Allan Poe is that he introduced the Allan to his name in maturity because he didn't like being called after a chamber pot. And so the Allan was actually forced in between.
Patrick, challenge him.
He was called Edgar Allan Poe because he was adopted and the Allan was from the other parents.
So I'm going to give you, as you've only played the game once before, the benefit of the doubt, but say something in 9 seconds about Edgar Allan Poe starting now.
I remember going round to the Allan's house. There was Edgar's step-parents when we had some Irish stew a number of years ago. Potatoes.
Well, if you're interested in the points, it's all very, very close. Tony Hawks is 1 point behind Allan, Cochrane and Patrick Kielty, and they're 2 points behind Gyles Brandreth. And Gyles, it's your turn to begin, and the subject is a magic carpet. 60 seconds starting now.
If I had a magic carpet, it would be parked outside in Portland Place. I would step onto it at the end of the programme and take my magic carpet from here.
Right, Tony, you sound...
I'm not quite sure what he said, but deviation there.
It was-
Hesitation.
It was deviation. A magic carpet is with you, Tony, and 52 seconds available, starting now.
The great thing about a magic carpet is it's environmentally friendly. Hardly uses up any fuel at all. The one that I purchased last week of Dean, a Cockney lad who lives near me, doesn't work. I step on it and I try...
Giles, challenge.
Deviation, it therefore isn't a magic carpet.
Why, what is your reasoning?
Do you mean...
The magic is what makes it work.
Oh.
Does that mean the fact that I thought it was a magic carpet and it wasn't
And
mean that
Dean
I'm
thought it was a
deviating?
magic carpet.
It means that ignorance is bliss in your case.
Well, I wasn't feeling particularly blissful when the carpet wasn't going anywhere.
I think it was equally fantastical that you could go outside and get on your magic carpet and fly away, Giles.
Excuse me, you gave me the subject magic carpet. A magic carpet, by definition, flies. A carpet bought from a fellow called Dean up the Balls Pond Road, by definition, doesn't. It's a rug. It's stationary.
But
Giles!
I don't believe you could go outside and get on the carpet and fly off. And
Would
at
you
the
like a
same-
lift home tonight?
But at the same time, this friend of his in the Balls Pond Road, he could call that a magic carpet. There's no reason why you shouldn't call it a magic carpet.
Absolutely
and there's no
right.
reason why you shouldn't be kidded into thinking it was a magic carpet.
I'm not surprised you're getting so sensitive I mentioned the word rug.
With what's left on the top of your head, you'll want to speak. Tony, benefit of the doubt. 35 seconds. A magic carpet starting now.
If you like using the adjective magic in a complimentary way, you could go into somebody's house and say, boy, that's a magic carpet you've got there. It offsets the curtains beautifully. The browns that are outside on the lawn, you shouldn't have dug it up, you idiot, go perfectly with the drapes and the texture and the pile in this beautiful, dare I say, magic carpet that you have purchased. The boy that
Alun, challenge.
I think there's a repetition of purchased taking place there. I think he purchased a magic carpet earlier and then he's just said purchased.
And
Just then.
he hesitated, didn't he?
And he hesitated as well. I mean, that was more of a second-tier challenge, but I'll promote it if it helps.
9
Okay.
seconds for you, Alun, on a magic carpet starting now.
My big problem with most magic carpets is that when you see them depicted in cartoon form, they have tassels at the edge, which I think makes them magic rugs. Surely they need...
Cochrane again speaking to us away again with extra point. And we're moving into the final round. Wow. What a lovely audience you have. And it's very, very close. Patrick Kielty, only second-time player of the game, is only 1 point behind Tony Hawks, and he's only 1 point behind our equal leaders, Gyles Brandreth and Allan Cochrane, in that order. So, it's all to play for
so
if
I'm
you're
last.
interested in the points. Nobody's ever last in this game.
Okay. I usually am.
You're in fourth place. And Patrick, we're with you to begin, and the subject is suited and booted. 60 seconds starting now.
In my opinion, one of the greatest joys in life is to have an appearance which rhymes. You have no idea how many times I have stood in front of my bedroom mirror, chuffed in the buff, or skirted and shirted. Not to mention the occasions I've fallen out of an Irish pub, hatted, and I probably shouldn't say that. Suited and booted is something that's going out of fashion. I remember the days when you used to go to your tailor and ask him for something double-breasted instead of your plastic surgeon. These days, though, I don't have to worry about being suited and booted because I'm recently married and I now just wear what my wife tells me to. I'm in so much trouble now when I... Can someone please help me out and press a...
Tony, you challenge.
I'm trying to save his marriage.
Right. And
he was going to
what are your
incriminate
challenge
him.
within the rules?
I think he hesitated.
I don't think he did. You know, I think he's been going consistently well. So I can say, Patrick, you have the benefit of the doubt. And you have 11
I'm happy to
seconds
say I hesitated.
Have 11 seconds to continue, if you can, on suited and booted, starting now.
It takes a certain type of distinguished gentleman in order to carry off the look which is suited and booted. As I look around the panel here this evening, I can tell you that he hasn't turned up.
So Patrick Kielty, who then speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point. And we come to the end of the round. It was incredibly fair because they all contributed so much. In second place was Tony Hawks, but he was only 1 point behind our triple winners. Yes. Giles, Brandreth, Patrick Kielty and Allan Cochrane were all equal in the lead. So congratulations to them, winners all three. It only remains here to say congratulations and thank you to these four fine players of the game, Giles, Brandreth, Patrick Kielty, Tony Hawks and Allan Cochrane. I thank Trudy Stevens, who's helped me with the score, blown her whistle so delicately at the end of 60 seconds. We thank our producer, Katie Tyrrell. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game, and we're grateful to this lovely, warm, friendly audience, and they've cheered us on our way magnificently. From our audience, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and this lovely team, goodbye, thank you, and tune in again the same time when we play Just a Minute!
Nicholas Parsons and the teams will be back at the same time next week.
Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Hello. My name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners in this country and, of course, around the world, but also to welcome to the programme four dynamic, exciting, talented, witty individuals who are going to play Just a Minute. And they are, seated on my right, Paul Merton and Stephen Mangan, and seated on my left, Pam Ayres and Giles Brandreth. Please welcome all four of them. And as usual, I'm going to ask them to display their knowledge and talent with words and language as they try and speak on a subject that I give them, and they try and do that without hesitation, repetition or deviation. Beside me sits Trudy Stevens, who's going to help with the score and blow a whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And we're going to begin the show with Paul Merton, and the subject to begin with is a case of mistaken identity. Paul, can you talk on that subject for just a minute, if you can, starting now?
Thank you, Marilyn. When I look around, I realise that our chairwoman, who used to be Miss Monroe in all those films, has aged particularly well. Who can forget her standout performance in The 7-Year Itch, when, as the woman I'm looking at now, essayed one of the finest comedy roles in early 20th century cinema? I think now...
Giles, you've challenged.
It was in the second half of the 20th century, so it can't be an early 20th century.
It was. I wanted to say mid, but it was. He's quite right. 1959, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right, yes. Yeah. Well done.
Yeah. Can I just say I've always been a fan of yours, Marilyn?
Well, I've had a few experiences in my time. I don't remember the one with you.
Oh, I'm awfully sorry, Nicholas. I've just put my glasses on.
Gyles, that was a correct challenge, so you get a point for that and take over the subject. And there are 42 seconds available, and you start now.
That beautiful young actress Scarlett Johansson said to me, "Are you the man of my dreams?" I said, "Probably not. It could be a case of mistaken identity," and it was. But since we were both there, we took advantage of the moment. It turns out that this diseuse has an obsession with Victor Meldrew, and she thought that I was indeed that particular character. She has watched all the programs and gets the hots whenever this man appears on the screen saying, "I don't believe it." And she could indeed not recognize that I was not that individual, but just simple Gyles Brandreth. It turned out that she has a very jealous French fiancé who said to me, "This is a case of mistaken identity."
Well, our fans will know that in this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point, and it was Gyles Brandreth, and you won't be surprised to hear that he's the only one to get any points at the end of the round. So we move on to the second round, and Stephen Mangan, we'd like you to begin. The subject is Schrödinger's cat. With you, Stephen, starting now.
Schrödinger's cat is a thought experiment devised by the eminent Austrian physicist Mr. Schrödinger. It involves a cat, a flask of poison, and some radioactive substance. If an atom dissolves, then a hammer hits the vial, poisonous cat gasps.
Hesitation.
There was, unfortunately.
I was taking notes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was learning. I was learning
stuff.
Amazing, yes. 41 seconds for you, Gyles. You got a correct challenge, another point. Schrödinger's cat, starting now.
Schrödinger's cat is the intellectual version of Mrs. Slocum's pussy. It serves the same sort of role within our society. If you're interested in quantum mechanics, you will be able to say, "I'm free," because the unfortunate cat is not. It is contained in a box, where, as the wonderful Stephen reminds us...
Paul challenge.
Well, "I'm free" would be the wrong catchphrase entirely, because that was John Inman's catchphrase, and Mrs. Slocum's catchphrase was talking about a cat, so...
Yeah, but I couldn't repeat that, could I? Because
No,
that's the point.
so you had to deviate. I understand your answer.
Well, I think you got me there. I think he's got me.
And where were you on the night of October the 14th?
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, Paul.
Yes, good.
And
I've
you
got
have the
plenty of that
subject.
coming up.
And you've got a point, of course. 20 seconds are still available. Schrödinger's cat, starting now.
Mr. Schrödinger looked out of his window one morning and saw his cat, the beautiful, beloved puss that shared his life for the last 5 years, frozen solid to the mailbox outside the home. He rushed out with a shovel and chipped away at the poor feline until eventually a little frozen face looked up.
Gyles challenge.
Repetition of Frozen.
I know.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. And you won't have any friends now, Gyles, in this audience. Because you've got in with 1 second to go. You've got a point, but those are the rules of the game. 1 second, Schrödinger's cat, Gyles, starting now.
Dr. Erwin Schrödinger!
Paul, you challenge.
I thought it was a hesitation.
The round of applause tells us that you deserve a bonus point for that. And Gyles, you were technically speaking as the whistle went, so you get a point for doing that. And at the end of that round, you've increased your lead, and then Paul's got some points. Stephen and Pam have yet to score. But who is it? Pam, it must be your turn to begin. Oh, Pam, I love your subject. Gossip. Tell us something about gossip in this game, starting now.
I don't think there's such a thing as gossip anymore, because all of the things that used to be considered scandalous are now perfectly commonplace and readily accepted. When did you last hear anybody say she is living with a man who is not her husband, the trollop? Or, alternatively, they are living together and they have had a child.
Oh, Stephen, you've challenged.
2 livings.
There were 2 livings, yes. Stephen, correct challenge, and you've got gossip, and 37 seconds starting now.
My favourite type of gossip were hot gossip, the dance troupe in the 70s and 80s that used to perform to songs on Top of the Pops. Classic example of something for the dads television. Sarah Brightman was famously backed by hot gossip.
Paul challenge.
A repetition of hot.
Yes. Yeah. The subject's gossip. Yeah. Paul? 21 seconds are still available. Tell us something about gossip starting now.
Gossip is pissog backwards. I never realised that before. That's an example of gossip. You can tell people that.
I'm tempted to give you another bonus point, but I don't know whether I should.
No, I don't think you should.
No, the audience don't think so.
I don't think you should.
But Stephen, you challenge first, and you have the subject back again, and you have 18 seconds gossip starting now.
I like to gossip on buses because then everyone can hear what I'm saying, including the driver, because I tend to yell when I gossip. Have you heard? Mrs. Slocum's having a facelift tomorrow. I yell, and no one... Yes, thank
Pam,
you.
challenge.
I think it might be a repetition of yell.
Yes, indeed it is. So, Pam, you got in with the subject you started with. You have a point. You have 4 seconds. Gossip starting now.
All those topics have been stripped of their capacity to shock, which they once had.
So, Pam Ayres was then speaking as a Whistleblowing gained that extra point. And Gyles, with you to begin, the subject is dance like nobody's watching. 60 seconds, that's the subject, by the way. We don't want you to demonstrate, and you have 60 seconds starting now.
Pavlova, Markova, Fontaine, Brandreth. These are names to conjure with in the world of dance. Mine may be less well known because I dance without people actually watching me at the time, and they are missing a treat, because in my tutu and on points, tutu is
Paul.
not a repetition. It is one word. I do assure you of that.
Yeah, Paul.
Well, it wasn't until he repeated the word tutu again.
That was after the bell had gone.
Repetition of two.
No. A lovely idea, Paul. So, benefit of the doubt, Gyles.
Absolutely.
You keep the subject. 44 seconds still. Dance like nobody's watching, starting now.
I dance like nobody's watching, but occasionally somebody is, and it's usually Russell Grant. We take lessons together. We are doing Swan Lake as a double act, and you should see us as these collapsing swans. Our featherwork is simply beautiful. People come. Darcy Bustle is always in the front row. She just gets her rocks off on us dancing.
Paul challenge.
That's libelous, surely. You can't pull that
I was
out.
speaking, of course, of the jewellery around her neck when I spoke of her rocks. These are things that she's been given over the years by admirers. I'm now trying
what's
to...
your challenge, Paul?
I think somebody should stop him. It's like talk when nobody's listening. Never mind. Start singing or whatever.
Yes, I think it's all fairly devious. I don't believe any of that, Gyles. So
Yes.
How wrong you are.
I know you very well, and I've never seen you with Russell Grant.
No,
You just said-
the theme is dance like nobody's watching. Of course you wouldn't have seen me.
Well, that's deviation because Darcy Bustle's watching you.
Yeah.
That is her secret vice. She comes heavily disguised. Behind a rock, mainly.
Gyles, it may be your fantasy world, but I still think it's very devious. So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to Paul and say there are 20 seconds for you to tell us something about dance like nobody's watching, Paul, starting now.
I suppose the phrase means it should move with confidence, not worrying about an unseen audience or batakli.
Pam challenge.
I thought it was somewhat of a hesitation.
No, it's not one. There's a definite hesitation.
Oh, jolly good. Oh, good.
And so you have 14 seconds. You tell us something about dance like nobody's watching, starting now.
I always like to dance with people watching. I favour a dance called the shake, which involves holding the body steady but shaking one leg violently.
Paul challenge.
Repetition of shake.
Oh, dang.
Wasn't it shaking the
Wait a
second
minute,
time?
shake and
shaking.
shaking. She said shaking.
Oh, right,
I
okay.
did. I said shaking.
There's shaking at the beginning, and then it was shake. So, Paul, an incorrect challenge, and you
good,
still
thank
have and another point, of course. And 5 seconds. Pam, dance like nobody's watching, starting now.
In the Victoria Cross Gallery in Wantage, dancing to a group called the Blue Sapphires.
So, Pam Ayres was speaking as a Whistleblowing gained that extra point. She's leapt forward. She's 1 point behind our leader, Gyles Brandreth. He's 1 point ahead of Paul, Merton and Stephen Mangan in that order. And Stephen Mangan, it's your turn to begin. This one, another phrase, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. You have 60 seconds as usual, and you start now.
Police often accuse people of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, especially when they're victims of crime. But most people are attacked when they are.
Unfortunately, Pam, you challenge.
And I think it was a repetition of people.
Yes, there was a repetition of people.
Yeah.
Yes. And there are 52 seconds if you want them, starting now.
An example of being in the wrong place at the wrong time would be if you were crossing a field in which unseen lurked a large Frisian bull of uncertain temperament. Oh, you might think, I will bend down and tie up my shoelaces. Doing so, you could then be struck a violent impact in the buttocks by the aforesaid male animal, and this would be a fine instance of having been in the wrong place at the wrong time. I can't think of anything else.
A well-deserved round of applause. You kept going for nearly 40 seconds. But, Giles, you challenged first.
There was a pause, rightly a pause for wild applause, but in that pause, I thought, maybe, should I press the button? Then I thought, no, I won't, but there was time enough to press it. So I did.
It was a correct challenge. There was a hesitation.
But I was trying to sound gallant. Because
but you're always gallant.
But
you don't
I had
have
run
to.
out of steam, Giles.
I felt that.
I'd come.
That's what happened to me that first night we were together. Do you remember?
Now, there surely is an example of being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Giles, 20 seconds for you on the subject of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, starting now.
Scarlett and I were in that field. We were chased across it by the extraordinary bull. Covered in mud, we went into the shower, where a French public relations executive burst in upon us.
Paul challenge.
Well, French public relations was that?
He's French, he speaks a bit like that, yeah.
Mispronunciation, so deviation from the English language.
No. So, benefit of the doubt, Giles.
Absolutely.
You keep the subject. There are 10 seconds for you still. Being in the wrong place at the wrong time, Giles Brandreth, starting now.
I thought I was in the wrong place at the wrong time when Nicholas invited me to his bunga party. But quickly I realised that, in fact, I was very much in the right place, because there he was, surrounded by...
You could have had him for deviation on a bunga party. I've never had one in my life. I don't even know what it is. I'm getting the idea now. Yes. Giles, you were speaking then as whistle went, and you've increased your lead at the end of the round. Pam's in a strong second place, and Paul, Merton and Stephen Mangan in that order. And Pam, we're back with you to begin, and the subject now is taking a selfie. Quite a modern expression. Tell us something about it in this game, starting now.
Taking a selfie sounds a little unsavoury, but in fact is nothing more sinister than taking your own photograph, holding the camera out with both mitts and pressing the shutter. How sad and tragic an image it conjures up that you haven't got a friend to take your photograph for you. To say, would you mind taking me picture? No, you have to do it yourself. And then, what I wonder is, what do you... No, I've said what several times.
Oh, no! Don't say I've repeated something, because immediately they're going to bust.
Well, I'm so honest, you see.
I
I'm
know.
honest and innocent.
Yeah, well, then you are in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Paul, you challenge first.
Yes, repetition of what?
Right. So, Paul, there are 31 seconds available. Tell us something about taking a selfie, starting now.
I suppose Rembrandt can be seen as an early example of taking a...
Pam, challenge.
I didn't hear what he said.
But, darling, that isn't a challenge.
I thought he said rent-a-kill, which would have been...
No, he said Rembrandt.
Oh, Rembrandt. I'm sorry, I didn't hear properly.
That's all right. I won't charge anything on that, but say, Paul, it's still with you. 28 seconds, taking a selfie, starting now.
Of course, this has been going on ever since the dawn of photography. You get hold of a camera, as somebody suggested earlier, in the very early days. It would have been quite difficult because they were huge devices in them days and you had to keep very still.
Giles challenge.
Repetition of days.
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
yes, more days than were necessary. 17 seconds still available, Giles. Taking a selfie, starting now.
This is a true story. I was walking along the beach in Barbados, and coming towards me was a little wizened old lady, nut brown. As she approached me, I realised it was in fact Mick Jagger. And the extraordinary thing about this was that he recognised me before I observed who he was.
So Giles is speaking as the whistle went again. That extra point has increased his lead. Giles, it's back with you to begin. The subject is the font of all knowledge. I think it fits very nicely with you, but will you talk on the subject? 60 seconds starting now.
Regular listeners to this programme may recall the episode in the spring of 1982 when Kenneth Williams was given a subject similar to this, and he told us the tale of getting into a London taxi and being advised by the cabbie that this driver had had Bertrand Russell, the great philosopher, in the back of the vehicle only the week before. And the aforementioned figure asked of this wise man, "What is it all about?" And Mr. Williams then... Well...
I thought it was a hesitation.
It was a hesitation because I was going to repeat Williams. And in my head I wanted to say Kenny and I got it wrong. You're spot on.
You made your point. An abject apology.
Yes, I do apologise. I'm actually... The listeners should know I'm actually walking over to the naughty step now.
Pam, correct challenge, 30 seconds. The font of all knowledge starting now.
The font...
Hesitation.
Yeah, there was an to begin now. You said, oh.
It was a good story. I was going to tell you a good story.
Yeah,
Well, I'll get both of your stories later.
Yeah.
But Paul, within the rules of the game, correct challenge, and 28 seconds, the font of all knowledge starting now.
As I climbed ever higher up the mountain, as the air grew thinner and the clouds around me were denser, I saw the holy man sitting upon the summit. He was the figure I'd been looking for all my life. As I ascended, step by pace...
I thought it was a hesitation.
No, he didn't. A very clever switch of thought, but he's played the game a few times, so he knows how to quickly switch. And Paul, you still have the subject, another point to you, 12 seconds, the font of all knowledge, starting now.
I realised as I looked inside the back of the cupboard, there was the holy book I'd been given by this figure all those years before. I hurriedly turned to the first page, and then the next, and there it said, in big bold writing, The Secret of Life...
Sir Paul Merton was then speaking as a whistle when gained the extra point. He's now equal in second place with Pam Ayres, and Stephen Mangan is following behind. Gyles is just out in front. Gyles, do you want to complete that story for the sake of the audience about...
Well, you remember the punchline, don't you?
No, I don't.
The point was that Kenneth Williams was in the car with this taxi driver and who said, you know, I've had that great Bertrand Russell. And I said to him, Bert, what's it all about? And the point is, the blighter didn't know.
That was very good. Paul, we're back with you to begin.
What about mine? You let him say...
Oh, yes, oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
My story is about the font of all knowledge, which is a mysterious stone structure in the Forest of Dean, which tells you things you want to know. You have to go up to it and shout down the font questions like, what battleship was sunk in the Plate River? And it thinks about it, and then it says, the Graf Spy, and you throw in some money, and it burps.
Well, there you are, burps, repetition.
Oh, yes. Paul, we're back with you to begin. The subject is compiling a mixtape. 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
Compiling a mixtape is something I used to do when I first got hold of a cassette recorder, and you had a little jack plug that fitted into a record player, and you could then record. I said, no, I haven't, no. I then record, I was all right, that's fine.
Oh, huge rounds first, didn't you?
Yes, hesitation.
What was it? Oh, yes. 51 seconds, Gyles. Compiling a mixtape starting now.
It was when we were compiling our mixtape that I fell out with the other guys in One Direction. The view was that I hadn't been comfortable with them.
Pam challenge.
Well, I don't believe it.
No, it is true. You look at the early publicity shots, he's in there.
I don't believe that either.
No, neither do I.
I don't think there's any connection between Gyles and the One Direction.
Pam, correct challenge. 44 seconds. Tell us something about compiling a mixtape starting now.
If I compiled a mixtape, it would contain such gems as there's lots of people now who'd never be dead if they'd only had the sense to mind their head by the Singing Postman. There was Sweet Rose of Allan Dow by Sean Cannon, one of my long-term favourites. Lonnie Donegan, Does Your Chewing Gum Lose Its Flavour on the Bedpost Overnight? Run by Snow Patrol, a fine track in my opinion. I can't think of any more, actually.
And you've got the tape? I'd love to hear it.
Yes, it's not like anybody else's mixtape.
No. Giles, you challenged first. And what was your challenge?
Yeah, self-confessed hesitation.
Yes, right. 16 seconds available to Giles, compiling a mixtape starting now.
With JLS, I'm about to work on I'm a pink toothbrush and then I am a blue one. We are going to be doing all the Max Bygraves repertoire, this little troupe and myself. It's wonderful. Scarlett is very excited. She is coming to most of the recordings.
So Giles Brandreth speaking as the whistle when gained an extra point, of course, and has increased his lead at the end of that round. And we are actually moving into the final round. Oh, what a lovely audience you are. I'll give you the situation. Stephen has not played the game quite as much as the others.
Tonight.
No, but he's in a very strong fourth position. Trailing Paul Merton by a few points, who's 1 point behind Pam Ayres, and she's a few points behind our leader, who is still Giles Brandreth. And Stephen, it is actually your turn to begin. And the subject is whistleblowing. Tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now.
The most famous whistleblower in the world at the moment is probably Edward Snowden, who's snuggling into his Russian villa, pouring out some vodka and thinking, have I made the right decision? Blowing a whistle on my employees in the United States. You take on that government. You take on one of the most fierce...
Oh. It's a difficult game, isn't it? Pam, you challenge first.
Yes, it was a repetition of take.
Taking on, that's right. 43 seconds are still available, Pam. Tell us something about whistleblowing starting now.
I have got a tin whistle which I bought in Ireland with a picture of a Guinness label on the side, on which I can play all the chords of Heart of My Heart, which is a very...
Giles, you challenge first.
Repetition.
Yes. Of what?
Never.
Of my heart.
I know, but I'd like to hear from it, just in case.
Oh, sorry.
Just in case,
Yeah,
right?
of course,
Heart,
of course,
yes.
you're quite right. Of course
but
you're
she's
right.
She's a lass.
I've never known you be wrong, Nicholas, in all these years. And I've never known you be more attractive either.
I know you fancy me, Giles, but please don't let the public know as well.
Oh, I don't know. I think we should come out at our age. Yay, yay, yay.
I don't think we've got anywhere to go to, Giles.
Yeah.
So, Giles, 32 seconds, whistleblowing starting now.
I don't know who it was shopped the Pied Piper of Hamelin to the local police, but probably the right thing was done at the time, because that fellow blew his whistle and all sorts of people followed him, not just the rats. This was an early case of whistleblowing. Of course, Peter Pan also was a dab hand when it came to blowing a whistle, did it so mellifluously that Wendy, the Scarlett Johansson...
Paul, challenge.
I just felt I should stop you. It's almost like a sort of spiritual moment I've just had. I started listening to what Giles was saying, and I realised that we deserve better than this.
I think
so I sort of blew the whistle on it, you know?
I think all that deserves a bonus point. Give him a bonus point. Won't make much difference to the final score, but it's lovely to give it to him. But I agree with you, Paul, and you have 8 seconds on the whistleblowing starting now.
I remember my first game of football. I was the goalkeeper. The referee looked at me, checked my studs. He checked. It's 2 checks. Would have said 3 if I'd kept going.
No. Stephen, you've got in with 3 seconds. A bonus point to Stephen for that round of applause he got then. But give him 2 bonus points.
Yes!
And see if you can keep going to the whistle, Stephen, because there are only 3 seconds available. Whistle blowing starting now.
When I blow my...
I just want to wish you luck for this.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
An incorrect challenge. You got another point for that, an incorrect challenge. Still 1.5 seconds to go. Stephen, whistle blowing starting now. Yes, Giles. Hesitation? No.
On my
Another
part.
point to Stephen Mangan. And you've got now 1 second left. Whistle blowing, Stephen, starting now.
I had a farm in Africa.
So Stephen did magnificently in that round, coming from absolutely nowhere. He still finished up in 4th place. But no, he only 1 point behind Paul Merton and only 2 points behind Pam Ayres, but quite a few points behind Giles Brandreth, who we say, Giles, you are our winner this week.
Oh.
We do hope you've enjoyed this edition of Just a Minute. And you'll want to tune in again at the same time next week. But just before that, let us give one final round of applause to our 4 intrepid players of the game, Paul, Merton, Stephen, Mangan, Pam Ayres and Gyles Brandreth. And I thank Trudy Stevens, who helped me with the score, blowing the whistle so magnificently. We're grateful to our producer, Kielty. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. And we're indebted to this lovely audience here in the Radio Theatre, who've cheered us on our way magnificently. So from them and from me, Nicholas Parsons, thank you, and tune in the next time we play Just a Minute. Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. My name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute walls phase away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners in this country and around the world, but to welcome to the programme 4 exciting, dynamic, talented performers who are going to show their skill with words and language as they try and speak on a subject that I give them. And they try and do that without hesitation, repetition or deviation. And they are, seated on my right, Paul, Merton and Lisa Tarbuck. And seated on my left, Jenny Eclair and Julian Clary. Please welcome all 4 of them. Beside me sits Trudy Stevens, who's going to help me keep a score and blow the whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And this particular edition of Just a Minute is coming from the Radio Theatre in the heart of Broadcasting House. And we're going to begin the show this time with Jenny Eclair. Jenny, a subject might be close to your heart. A night in. Tell us something about that in this game. Starting now.
I love a night in. I've got it down to a fine art. I start with a good bath foaming with aromatic oils, pumice my ankles. Otherwise, they're a little bit of a distraction later when I'm trying to watch the TV. Go downstairs, position myself in a large leather bean bag with the remote control clutched in my icy grasp. No one else is going to touch it. I have a variety of takeaway menus. In fact, I have organised with some of my local eateries that they have a copy of my front door key so they can deliver said meal to my lap as I watch whatever I want on the television. Then
Gillian challenge.
2 televisions.
TV and television.
Oh, was it?
I was going to say telly next. And then the box. And then that thing that talks to me more than anyone else in the corner.
Well, I might as well just put my buzzer down.
You've played this game before, haven't you, Jenny?
Now and again, now and again.
An incorrect challenge. So you get a point for an incorrect challenge, Jenny. You keep the subject, a night in, 13 seconds available, starting now.
It's very important to wear something with an elasticated waist so that it doesn't control your eating.
Julian challenge.
Repetition of eating.
Yes, you did talk about eating before.
I talked about it, but I didn't say the word eating. I said eateries, the various eateries.
Lisa challenge.
2 controls, actually. TV control and then control then.
Oh,
So what do I do? Give it to...
Yes.
Lisa, very correct challenge.
That's what I meant to say.
I'll tell you what I'll do.
I'll give you both a point.
Yeah.
All right,
Lovely.
a point to Lisa Tarbuck, a point to Julian Clary, and Julian challenge first, so he takes the subject, a night in, and there are 5 seconds available, starting now.
Nothing like a nice night in with a Jenny Eclair DVD to make me howl with laughter.
Paul challenge.
D.
Repetition of D.
Definitely. Yeah, and you played the game a few times before, Paul, and so you've got him with 1 second to go. On a night in, starting now.
It was pure devilment.
Give Lisa a bonus point for her devilment. Paul gets a point because he was interrupted. And you've got half a second on a night in, Paul, starting now.
Slowly,
Paul, you've got the point for speaking as a whistle went. And this game, whoever does that gains an extra point. He's in the lead at the end of the round. Julian Clary would like you to begin the second round. And the subject is Murder Most Foul. 60 seconds on that one. Don't look at me like that. You look as if you really are very disturbed by the subject. 60 seconds, starting now.
Murder most foul, as in the best it is what Hamlet said, and he was certainly right about that. No good came of murder. His whole life was up the duff. Macduff, you might be thinking. But no one's buzzed, which I thought they might.
Paul challenged.
I buzzed.
Right.
Macduff isn't in the Hamlet.
No, I didn't say it was. It was just a Shakespearean allusion.
No, he didn't convey that Macduff was in Hamlet.
No.
Julian, we're still with you. Murder Most Foul, and there are 45 seconds starting now.
Murder Most Foul is something I used when I was coming to the title of my first novel, Murder Most Fab, which is about a man goes around killing people, gets away with it, does it over and again. However, you'd have to read it to get to the really throbbingly interesting bit, which is round about chapter 5 on page 32. It was an
Jenny challenge.
Deviation from his own book, chapter 5, page 32.
They're very short chapters.
They're very short chapters, Julian.
A good attempt, Jenny, but I'm going to go with Julian on this one. Murder Most Foul, Julian, still with you, 20 seconds, starting now.
When I was at the RSC, I was cast in the...
RSC? RSC.
Lisa, you challenged.
There was two I was.
Yes, that's right. Lisa, you have the subject. You have 16 seconds. Murder Most Foul, starting now.
I used to sit on a train going up to Manchester and imagine that one of the best places in the world...
Julian challenge.
Sit on a train?
Yeah. James Bond style. Just straddle the third carriage all the way up.
So, Julian, what's your challenge when the rules...
No, I had this image of you straddling a train. I wanted to clarify, you were in the train.
Yeah.
You were in the train, right.
On the top.
I got that, Julian, that she was in the train.
Okay.
She wasn't sitting on the top or anything like that. There are 11 seconds for you, Lisa, on Murder Most Foul, starting now.
And it always occurred to me that the sidelines of a railway track would be a wonderful place to hide a body. So that got me planning how I'd commit the perfect murder. And I was thinking, if I managed...
So, Lisa Tarbert, the speaker to Whistle Went, gained that extra point for doing so, and... she's in the lead at the end of the round, but only just 2 points ahead of Julian and Paul and Jenny. And Paul, it's your turn to begin. The subject now is cutting the mustard. Tell us something about that subject. 60 seconds, starting now.
When planning an outdoor barbecue, and that often is the best kind, you must cut the mustard. There's no use having it because people don't like it. Tomato ketchup, brown sauce, they lap it up, sausages, chops, grills, everything. But mustard, no, you can cut it right out. I once had a man who lived next door to me who was allergic to mustard. He couldn't even play Cluedo because of the kernel mustard in it. And it was extraordinary. He'd come out in hives, which is where bees live, and they'd swim around, and he got his honey, and it dripped down the back of his neck. He had to be taken to hospital 5 times in a week. Anyway, I was turning to him one day and I said, you've got to cut the mustard out. You've got an allergy to it. And then he suddenly turned to me and he said, you realise...
Julian challenge.
2 turns.
Oh, well, he said, yeah, it's one of the allergies. He turns around a lot. Constantly spinning.
Yeah. We enjoyed it, Paul.
Yeah, so did I. I got hyper there.
You were on a roll. You were on a roll. I really think you'd taken the mustard and hotted yourself up.
Exactly.
24 seconds for you, Julian, after a correct challenge. Cutting the mustard, starting now.
Cutting the mustard, suppose, means you are up to scratch or not, as the case may be. Jenny's imaginary friend sitting on my lap at the moment is, frankly, cutting the mustard as we speak. You see, I've made it...
Jenny, you challenged.
My imaginary friends told me she isn't.
Someone else's imaginary friend, then.
This is going to be a difficult decision for you, Nicholas. Whose imaginary friend do you believe?
Yeah, you do have impossible decisions to make
It's a
on
bit hard,
occasions,
isn't it?
because you're in the realms of fantasy here.
I know, it's best place to be.
What's that? And
Deviating from the truth.
so you have a fantasy friend on your lap?
Imaginary, not a fantasy friend. You take that I'm a happily married man.
I think I should give the benefit of the doubt to Jenny, because
Yes.
I don't think you could have somebody in this game sitting on your lap, imaginary, fantasy, or otherwise.
Okay.
So, Jenny, you have the subject. You have a benefit from me. 12 seconds, cutting the mustard, starting now.
It's very difficult cutting the mustard, especially when it's in powder form. I think the phrase might have originated from an old army thing when people had to muster, and if soldiers cut...
So, Jenny Eclair was then speaking as a Whistleblowing, gained that extra point. She's moved forward. She's still in fourth place, but only 1 point separates them all. And, Jenny, it's your turn to begin. And the subject is a royal flush. 60 seconds, starting now.
If Fergie was still royal, being a woman my age, she'd be having royal flushes on a daily basis, let me tell you. The other royal flush is when you have to flush the royal lavatory so many times it sets off a 27-gun salute and the red arrows fly down the mall, trailing toilet paper in their wake. Have you ever seen such a sight? What about when you're playing cards and you get a royal flush? What is it, you ask? Well, it's a hand of magic things where it goes 10, Jack, King, Queen. I'm not a gambling woman.
I know. You just proved it.
Yes.
So, Lisa, what was your challenge?
It was a little bit of hesitation.
Yes. Lisa, 25 seconds, a royal flush, starting now.
My friend Barney likes nothing better than playing poker, and recently he got a couple of royal flushes over in Las Vegas and bagged himself the jackpot in a competition that saw 2,500 people creamed by said friend of mine. He's come home and now we all expect him to pay for dinner.
Paul, challenge.
Sorry, did we have repetition of friend?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Paul, you've gone in with 4 seconds to go.
Blush!
On a royal...
I know, I really shouldn't be here.
Why I order?
Those are the rules of the game.
They are, yes.
And that's how we have to play the game, otherwise it would all fall apart, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
4 seconds, a royal flush with you, Paul, starting now.
As Prince Philip exited the strip club, he was amazed to see in front of him...
All right. I don't think you'll be asked to the palace soon, Paul.
No.
All right. You were speaking as a Whistleblowing, gained that extra point. You've increased your lead at the end of the round. And Julian, Clary, it's your turn to begin. A good role model. Tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now.
Will you get off my lap, you brute? I'm trying to play the game and talk about being a good role model. Sorry, private conversation. Now, a good role model to me, well, it's going to be Prince Charles every time. I've fashioned my whole life on that man.
Lisa, challenge.
We've had Prince Charles before, haven't we?
previous
No, that was
episode.
another programme.
Was it? I think you'll find...
I know it's confusing because
Yeah.
the same 4 players were in that particular edition.
It was ages ago.
But anyway, it was just a statement of fact. You love Prince Charles.
Obsessed.
Julian, 46 seconds. A good role model is with you, starting now.
Yes, Charlie is a good role model. I'm going to try and learn to speak like him if I possibly can. It's uncanny, isn't it?
Paul
Who's
challenge.
interrupted me?
It's Alan Sugar. What did you do with that?
It's a work in progress.
Exactly. Like, Prince Charles is more sort of... That's more Prince Charles. It's like, imagine a wasp in your mouth.
I think you're actually right there.
Yeah, exactly,
Definitely. So I don't know who to give the point to for this one. Difficult. Have to make a decision here. Because in my position, I wouldn't have to make decisions, and so I will I make a decision and say they both get a point. How's that? All right, both get a point. I don't know who has the subject, though. I think we're still with you, Julian.
Yeah.
A good role model, and 39 seconds starting now.
Princess Anne's a good role model, so outdoorsy and fresh-faced with that lovely bun on the top of her hair. If I was a woman, I would be obsessed with her. And another thing, I'm more or less running out of steam.
Lisa.
There were two obsesseds.
Yes, you were a bit obsessed there,
I
weren't you?
was, yes.
Yes. So, Lisa, well listened. A good role model is with you. That's the subject. 24 seconds starting now.
I think good role models start to pop up in your school days where you developed a relationship with an adult and are really quite thrilled by it. I had a cracking relationship. Oh, balls.
Paul challenge.
I learnt to do embroidery and everything.
Hesitation, sadly.
Yeah.
Yes. And we're...
Actually, it was about to be repetition. I was going to say relationship again.
Yes.
Paul, 13 seconds for you on a good role model starting now.
When I look for a good role model in show business, I can do no better than to observe Nicholas Parsons, our astute, wonderful chairman who is so easily flattered by the things we say. And yet...
Paul, you've got the point for speaking as a whistle went. I'd like to give you a bonus point for your flattery, but I cannot. It's not within my remit. But you're in the lead at the end of the round. And Lisa, with you to begin. And the subject now is creature comforts. Tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now.
Creature comforts span a large amount of things that are...
Julian challenge.
Hesitation.
That's right, Julian. And you have 55 seconds. You tell us something about creature comforts, starting now.
Creature comforts is when you stay in on a cold autumn night, wear your onesie, have some muffins.
Lisa challenge.
Two wares. Where?
No, where and where. One is where you stay in. Different spelling and everything.
Right. It's all about an H.
It's all about an H.
All about an H.
I don't quite know what the challenge was. I mean, there were two wheres. What did you say?
One is the different meaning of the word where. Yeah. But I'm right, basically, Nicholas.
No, Julian, in this game, I am always right because I have to lay down the rules. But if you said where, whether it was pronounced W-E-R-E or W-H-E-R-E, you still said where. But if you'd said to pronounce it correctly as the Scots do and said, and I just said where, then it would have been all right.
It's not the pronunciation.
I'll know in future, won't I?
Does that mean I get a point then?
Yes, because he did say where twice, didn't you?
In theory. I hear what you're saying.
So
It's a funny thing, but your mind, your ear listens for repetition. You're not listening for where and where. So that is why...
He didn't say where, he said where.
Yes, it's a where. I blame myself.
Very few people do pronounce it, yes.
How would he pronounce the werewolf that's about to come through the door?
Well, there's no H in that, it's werewolf.
Werewolf.
No, it's people should say where and when.
So, hang on a second. We're told that a werewolf's about to come through the door and we're debating how it's pronounced. Shouldn't we be taking some evasive action apart from... Is it where? Is it where? You know.
What if you were lying in the great bed of where at the time?
Well, that would be something special.
I mean, where in Hertfordshire?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. Got nothing to do with it. Lisa, let's get on with the show. You have a correct challenge. 49 seconds. Creature comforts starting now.
I don't do it. I really thought I was wrong.
Well, it's too late now.
Yeah,
You've lost it.
I am now, yeah.
Julian, new challenge.
She was unable to speak.
So, hesitation. Right, Julian, you've got it back. 48 seconds. Creature comforts starting now.
Where are my bottles of gin? That's what I want to know.
Paul's challenged you.
Deviation from how where is normally pronounced.
Yes.
That's how you told me to pronounce it. Where?
I never said where like that. I said where.
Where?
I think we interpret that as hesitation. Elongation of words, right. So, Paul, you have the benefit there. 44 seconds. Creature comforts starting now.
In the 1930 film Frankenstein, Boris Karloff plays the creature, and in order for him to be comfortable during the bouts of filming, a little feather bed headrest was made for the back of his neck. He was wearing the most extraordinarily heavy makeup, about 42 pounds in weight, and yet the sight of his grim visage came across the cinema screens, and people were terrified by this creature. And
Oh no!
Creature. Yes.
Creature comforts.
Sorry, that's my ear.
One of the reasons why I mentioned it.
Oh, I know. Well, you can tell I'm listening. I can only apologise. I hate to stop you.
Don't apologise, darling. It all adds to the fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you say
and
that.
Paul gets another point and gets his breath, and he's going on for another 19 seconds if he can.
19.
Creature comforts starting now.
Nicholas
Paul.
wears an inflatable ring about his person, which takes a great deal of pressure out of everyday life. And that's what it's about, creature comforts. Maybe we think to ourselves, I am going to purchase a beautiful pair of leather gloves, slip them across my fingers, and feel the beautiful chamois against my flesh.
Jenny challenge.
Two beautifuls.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yes, there were.
Yeah.
And Jenny, you've cleverly got in with half a second to go. It hasn't won you any friends in this audience.
I don't need
She's got an imaginary friend. She has an imaginary friend.
No, it's Junior's got the imaginary friend.
No.
It was on his knee.
Can you see them both?
No, because they're imaginary. It was on his knee, wasn't it? Or she?
It was my imaginary friend that he said was on his knee.
Oh, your imaginary friend, was it? On his knee?
Anyway, they've both gone off together.
It was so imaginary I couldn't see it. Right. So, Jenny, half a second to go on creature comforts starting now.
A jar of low-calorie mayonnaise.
So, Jenny Clare was then speaking as a Whistleblowing. She's moved forward. She's still in fourth place, but she's not very far behind Julian Clary and Lisa Tarbuck, who are equal in second place. So you're actually in third place, Jenny. But out in the lead now is Paul Merton. And Jenny Clare, we're back with you to begin. And the subject now is reasons to be cheerful. And I think... I don't know why you're laughing. We all have reasons to be cheerful. And Jenny, that's the subject. 60 seconds starting now.
Reasons to be cheerful, as Ian Drury once sang. The other day I counted my blessings, got to 2, and both of them were vodka. Other reasons to be cheerful are a lovely swim in a cold, clean lake, some smoked salmon on half-price offer, a beautiful day. I'm sorry, this isn't really my kind.
Julian challenge.
Well, hesitation. You ran out of steam,
I know,
didn't you?
I know.
It's not my cup.
It's not my cup of tea, but you think, I don't really do this.
No. Definite 39 seconds, Julian. Reasons to be cheerful starting now.
There's so many reasons to be cheerful here at the Beeb amongst my chums. A man in the front row with shorts and a tattoo on his thigh, which is winking at me. That's really cheered me up. Other reasons to be cheerful is that as soon as this recording's over, I'm going to fly off to the country and play with my ducks and the chickens. Sometimes I leave the French windows open and they come popping inside, and goodness me, they've got reasons to be cheerful. There's bread, there's bits of grain.
Jenny, your challenge.
There's.
Yes.
Yes. And he's also left the French doors open. I'm very worried. I think when you get back, you might have been burgled.
There's a Frenchman looking after the French door.
Of course!
And the ducks and chickens would frighten them away, wouldn't they?
No.
No. 6 seconds for you, Jenny, on reasons to be cheerful starting now.
Getting into a pair of size 12 jeans when in reality you are...
So, Jenny Clare, speaking as a Whistleblowing, gain that extra point. And we're moving into the final round. Julian Clary and Jenny Clare and Lisa Tarbuck are equal in second place. It's very interesting. Paul Merton is out in the strong lead. And Paul, it's your turn to begin. And the subject is birthdays. Tell us something about birthdays in this game, starting now.
When this show goes out as one of the many programmes that Just a Minute has broadcast over the years, Nicholas Parsons will be approaching his 90th birthday. And I think we should take a moment to appreciate and applaud the man for the magnificent achievement he's had in hosting this show since 1967.
I'm going to give you 10 bonus points for that. But
it's
who
true, though.
challenged?
Nicholas will have the world record. I don't think anyone's ever done this. He's been hosting this show longer than anyone's ever hosted anything in the history of broadcasting. So it is an extraordinary achievement.
Thank you. Well, I think we should wind up the show after that. Bring it to an end. Right, Jenny, what was your challenge?
He said show twice.
Yeah.
I know he did, yes. Well, give Paul a bonus point for his generosity and the applause he got. And Jenny, you get a point for a correct challenge. And you have 44 seconds on birthdays starting now.
Birthdays are best when you're very young and you can rely on your mum and dad buying the presents you want. Pogo stick, bike. When you get older, it's much harder. You can't really be bothered. Too fat for cake. No one can afford to buy you what you really want, which is an island.
Paul, challenge.
Repetition of buy.
Buy what
yes,
you really want.
yes.
Yes. 30 seconds back with you, Paul, on birthdays starting now.
I suppose there are certain birthdays that stick in your mind. At the age of 21 years old, I was living in a bedsit and somebody bought me a couple of pints of Guinness that night in the pub. And then I think where I was when I was 50 and I looked over and saw all my friends gathered around and not one of them was willing to...
Tune-in challenge.
I wasn't there.
You were. You were.
Was I?
You were, and your present to me was a poster of yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Now he doesn't even remember giving it to me.
It's what you wanted.
It's what I wanted, yes.
Sorry, incorrect interruption.
No, it wasn't. It was a delightful interruption.
Can I say what lovely skin you've got? In the hope of getting a bonus point.
It's rented.
Well... No, we've all got good skin on this show. It's known as a good skin show. Paul, incorrect challenge. So, 15 seconds. Birthdays starting now.
When the clown comes out and sees all the excited children's faces staring up and they say, "Who's a special boy today?" And you look around and you realise it's you, and the aforementioned entertainer hands you a magnificent balloon.
So let me give you the final situation. Lisa Tarbuck, who gives us such a wonderful value, finished only just in fourth place, but it was a very, very strong fourth place. Because she was only 1 point behind Jenny Eclair, was only 1 point behind Julian Clary, but a few points ahead of them all was Paul Merton. So we say, Paul, you are our winner this week. It only remains for me to say thank you to these four fine, exciting players of the game: Paul Merton, Lisa Tarbuck, Julian Clary and Jenny Eclair. I also thank Trudy Stevens, who's helped me with the score, blown her whistle with aplomb when the 60 seconds elapsed. We're grateful to Katie Tyrrell, who was our producer, and we're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. We're grateful to this lovely audience here, who've cheered us on our way magnificently. From the audience, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and the team, goodbye. Tune in the next time we play Just a Minute. Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Hello. My name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners, not only in this country, but around the world, but also to welcome to the programme four exciting, really dynamic players of this game. And they are seated on my right, Paul Merton and Stephen Mangan, and seated on my left, Pam Ayres and Gyles Brandreth. And as usual, I'm going to ask them to display their knowledge and talent with words and language as they try and speak on a subject that I give them, and they try and do that without hesitation, repetition or deviation. Beside me sits Trudy Stevens, who's going to help with the score and blow a whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. We're in a Christmas mood, and the subjects have a Christmas flavour to them, and we've got Gyles Brandreth to start us off. Oh, yes, a real Christmas subject. Building a snowman. Gyles, tell us something about building a snowman in just a minute, if you can, starting now.
Let me take you back to the cold winter of 1955, when the snow lay deep and crisp and even, and Uncle Hubert took me out into the garden to build my first snowman. And it was indeed a snowman, not a snow person. I know that because of where he placed the carrot and the 2 sprouts. This was some years before he was arrested, but I was very pleased to be taken by him into that...
Pam, you've challenged.
I thought there was hesitation there.
No hesitation, but very devious thoughts.
I thought there was a hesitation before by him, and I also think it's an exceedingly unsavoury image.
You don't know where it's going. You don't know where it's going.
The carrot and the
Giles, it's already gone there. So I'm going to give Pam the benefit of the doubt.
I don't like the sound of that Uncle Hubert at all.
I'd like to hear from Pam on the subject of building a snowman, and there are 34 seconds still available, Pam, starting now.
One of the truly happiest memories I have of snowy days is being out with my 2 sons and making a little snowball, which we rolled along until it got increasingly big, and then we could not move it any further. So we turned it into a man, and it was enormous, and we poised it on the top of a quarry, and it stayed there for ages. And that's all I've got to say.
Charles. Yes, Charles.
Hesitation.
Yes, indeed. So you got the subject back. Fair
play. It was savoury. I mean, it was a nice image, not like Uncle Hubert and his carrot and his Brussels sprouts.
Yes, stay off Uncle Hubert now if you can. 8 seconds, Giles, for you.
How many seconds?
Oh, no.
Only 8 seconds.
Oh, good.
Building a snowman, starting now.
What you have to do is pack the ice firmly and then get studs of coal to make glorious
Pam challenged.
Very suggestive.
This is putting people in a Christmas mood at home.
Yeah, the real Christmas spirit here, isn't there? Giles, it was an incorrect challenge, so you've got 3 seconds still on building a snowman, starting now.
Building a snowman is a metaphor for life because eventually, of course, it melts.
In this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. It was Giles Brandreth, of course, and he's 1 point ahead of Pam Ayres, who's in second place. Stephen Mangan and Paul Merton have yet to score, but they're going to hear from them shortly. Pam, we'd like you to begin the next round. It's Brussels sprouts. Very Christmassy, right. You tell us something about Brussels sprouts in this game, starting now.
Some people like to perfume their homes using candles scented with jasmine, rose, geranium, chives and cloves, etc. But I prefer Brussels sprouts boiled for at least 45 minutes until they form a malodorous yellow mush stuck to the bottom of the saucepan. This is guaranteed to imbue your environment with the stench of the workhouse, boarding schools and old folks' homes of the nastier type. I can't think of anything.
Giles, your challenge?
Only because there was a hesitation.
I was. The whole show is on the
story.
left-hand side of the thing at the moment, right. But your correct challenge, Giles. You have another point. 26 seconds are still available. Tell us something about Brussels sprouts, starting now.
I have a Christmas tree studded with Brussels sprouts that are diamond encrusted, given to me by Damien Hirst last Noel. A very generous present that goes alongside the...
Yeah, right. Stephen, you've challenged.
Have I?
Yes.
I have.
Excellent challenge.
I challenged.
Excellent challenge.
Yeah, excellent challenge. What is it, Stephen?
Did it begin with an H or an R or a D?
Deviation.
Yeah, deviation. Definitely deviation. I can't believe, Giles, you deviated so much.
Oh, dreadful.
It was so glaringly obvious
Yes.
that you deviated. What are you talking about? I believe it's my go. Right, let's move on.
So you have a point for a correct challenge.
Good.
And you have
Quite right.
11 seconds on Brussels sprouts, starting now.
Brussels sprouts are evil, tasteless, ugly vegetables. I'd rather smash my teeth in with a spanner than eat them, unless they're cooked with onions and bacon, in which case they're delicious.
So Stephen Mangan was in, speaking as the whistle went. Gained that extra point. He's equal with Pam Ayres in second place, behind Gyles Brandreth. And actually, Stephen, we'd like you to begin the next round. Choosing Christmas presents. 60 seconds, starting now.
Choosing Christmas presents is an incredibly important task because you can express how you feel about your loved ones through the medium of merchandise. I celebrate you, Aunt Agatha. I honour your wit, your wisdom, your quiet alcoholism, and your violent flatulence with these lavender-flavoured soaps. Why did the wise men start this whole thing off? Seriously, they've condemned the rest of us to trudging around department stores on Christmas Eve like zombies, looking for presents for
Gyles, your challenge first.
Hesitation?
Yes, right. They let you get away with 5 yours then. And 26 seconds for you, Gyles, on choosing Christmas presents starting now.
On the whole, when it comes to choosing Christmas presents, I prefer to give people what they need rather than what they want. So in the case of Great Aunt Agatha...
Full challenge.
A repetition of what they?
What they, yes.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Good to see this Christmas spirit is everywhere.
Seeing as you've introduced Uncle Hubert to our world, I don't think so.
So, Paul, 17 seconds are still available. You tell us something about choosing Christmas presents starting now.
Well, of course, this is the reason why this subject has come up, because this time of year we've all been doing it lately, haven't we? Walking through the high streets, bustling away in this... What a terrible winter it's been! Who would have thought since the beginning of October it just snowed incessantly for 3 months right to the end of the year?
There was a slight hiatus there because someone pressed a buzzer as Trudy put the whistle in her mouth. She didn't know whether to blow it or not, and I told her to blow it, and she thought I meant something else.
As I say, Christmas time is a time when...
And poor Trudy now is in hysterics. And Paul, you were speaking at that moment, so you've got 2 points, and Stephen's got 2 points, Pam's got 2 points, Giles is in the lead with a few more, and, well, who's going to treat next? Paul, it's your turn to begin. Oh, Christmas crackers. Oh, tell us something about those in this game starting now.
Well, I think with the enthusiasm with which our chairman introduces this subject is often matched by those of us who are pulling these Christmas crackers apart during the festive season. But how disappointed we are when we read the third-rate, poor-quality jokes within. Why can't they just have wonderful sayings of wisdom? For example, was it not Confucius who once said, "That's enough trifle for me"? I'd like to know about that. And how did the Chinese celebrate Christmas thousands of centuries before Jesus was born? That's the sort of...
Pam, challenge.
I think thousands of centuries is a bit of a long time. I think perhaps that was a bit of an exaggeration.
Pam, you have a point. You have the subject. You have 31 seconds. Christmas crackers starting now.
I was working in Australia and I saw in a shop a very nice ring, and as the tour had gone exceedingly well, I decided to buy myself a treat in the form of the said item of jewellery. Showing it to my husband, however, he said, "Oh, it looks like something out of a Christmas cracker." And this immediately conjured up images of tawdry, worthless, plastic, brittle and horrible goods, and I did not buy it. And that is all I have to say.
Oh, Pam, saved by the whistle. And you were speaking then as Whistleblowing gained that extra point, and you move forward. You're 1 point behind our leader, Giles Brandreth, and you're a couple of points ahead of Stephen Mangan and Paul Merton. And Giles, it's your turn to begin. A round robin is the subject. There's 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
Now that the children have left home and it's just the two of us, we have eschewed the plump turkey for Christmas and are going for a round robin. Stuffed with a wonderful nut roast. It's a beautiful, plump, fat creature.
Pam, challenge.
I'm a member of the RSPB. I cannot listen to this any further.
But it was Uncle Hubert's favourite.
And Pam, you have the benefit of the doubt.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you have 43 seconds. Tell us something about a round robin starting now.
In order to achieve a round robin, one must feed it enormous quantities of mealworms and fat balls.
It's Christmas. This is Christmas.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, Giles, what's your challenge?
Well, I'm a member of the Royal Society for the Protection of Earthworms. And here is this cruel woman stuffing this lovely, delicate robin. I was giving it a nut roast, lovely veggie fare. She's feeding other animals to
Yes,
it.
but you were feeding it from one orifice and I was feeding it from the other.
If you meet in the middle, you can make a wish.
Yeah. 35 seconds are still available, Pam. A round robin starting now.
By taking a handful of normal bird seed and pouring dripping or the roast...
Paul challenge.
A slight hesitation.
It was a big hesitation.
No.
Yes.
So there are 27 seconds still available, Paul. A round robin starting now.
One of these letters, I don't know if people still do them. Simon Hoggett writes a column in The Guardian every Christmas that suggests people do send these round robin letters around where you...
Stephen challenge.
2 letters.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Yes. Well, listen, Stephen. 20 seconds available, Stephen. A round robin starting now.
Round robin actually began in the 19th century. It was a form of writing novels. One author would write a chapter and someone else would write the next one and so forth until you had a whole book. Round robin. There we go. Good night.
Paul, you challenge.
Slight hesitation.
Yeah, you should have kept on. There are another 6 seconds to
I
go.
know, but I was looking into your eyes, Nicholas, and I got lost.
Paul, you got in first. 6 seconds, a round robin with you starting now.
As I looked at my friend Robin, I realised his diet had gone horrendously wrong. Where he had once been a svelte...
So Paul Merton was then speaking as a Whistleblowing, gained that extra point. He's moved forward. He's equal with Gyles Brandreth in second place, just ahead of Stephen Mangan, but they're 1 point behind our leader, Pam Ayres. And Pam, it's your turn to begin. A real Christmas subject. My tips on how to avoid arguments. 60 seconds, if you want them, starting now.
My tips to avoid arguments are to cultivate a list of platitudes which are absolutely meaningless but will placate a moron spouting drivel. For instance, amen to that is a good one. Or there's a man who knows what he's talking about. These have the effect of letting you sit on the fence without coming down on either side of it. Thus, the moron feels attention. Blow.
Giles, you challenge.
Repetition of moron.
Yeah, we had the moron at the beginning, unfortunately, Pam.
Yeah,
'cause they
2
did love it.
morons.
28 seconds are still available, Giles. My tips on how to avoid arguments starting now.
Sitting next to Nicholas is a beautiful young person called Trudy who carries a whistle. And the way that we, when we're together, manage to avoid arguments is that I invite her to blow it when anybody is getting a bit fractious. Alternatively, the best way to avoid arguments is to doze off, to close your eyes and give the impression that you are snoozing and let the fight go on all around you and the traumatized family with aunts and uncles.
So Gyles Brandreth was again speaking as a Whistleblowing, gained that extra point, and he's moved forward. He's 1 ahead of Pam Ayres. He's 2 ahead of Paul Merton, and 3 or 4 ahead of Stephen Mangan. And Stephen Mangan, it's your turn to begin. Ooh, what's the subject for you? He'll probably send me up. The subject is St. Nicholas. 60 seconds, starting now.
Some say that the character of St. Nicholas is a myth, others that he is a mythder. But the story goes that Nicholas is an older gentleman. Nicholas watches over us all. Nicholas rewards us when we've been good and punishes us when we've been bad. And
Pam challenge.
We've. A repetition of we've been bad.
I was enjoying the way it was going, actually. But it was a correct challenge, Pam. So you have St. Nicholas, and you have 44 seconds, starting now.
St. Nicholas is the patron saint of thieves, and I like to imagine thieves on bend...
Stephen challenge.
2 thieves.
You got it straight back? Yes. Another point to Stephen. 38 seconds still available, Stephen. St. Nicholas, starting now.
As I was saying, Nicholas...
Paul challenge.
There must be repetition then. As I was saying.
It was a repetitious thought, Paul.
Wasn't it just?
Yes, but
Yes.
he didn't.
I can see the way this is going,
He didn't
yes.
actually repeat words he'd
No,
said
that's
before.
right. No.
So those are the rules of the game, which
They
you
are.
should know after all these years.
Yeah.
But we enjoyed the interruption.
Thank
Give him a
you.
bonus point. And Stephen, you get a point because you were interrupted.
Thank you.
And you have 36 seconds starting now.
Without wishing to repeat myself, I was talking about Nicholas and his benevolent ways, watching what we were up to. And Nicholas has been doing this since the 4th century AD. He's famous for leaving coins in people's shoes, behaviour which nowadays would rightly get you arrested as some sort of weird fetishistic deviant. His most famous story involves a poor man who had 3 daughters. The man was unable to provide a dowry for his children and was worried that they would be unable to get married.
Giles challenge.
Repetition of unable.
I know. Not. They want Stephen to go on. 8 seconds, Giles, with you. St. Nicholas starting now.
St. Nicholas gives us Santa Claus through Sinterklaas being a Dutch variation of the phrase. His feast day is the 6th of December, when the true season of Christmas begins and carries on.
So Giles Brandreth, who speak of the Whistleblowing, gained an extra point, and he's increased his lead at the end of the round. And Paul Merton, we're with you to begin now, and the subject is my favourite festive film. Starting now.
My favourite festive film, it wouldn't be It's a Wonderful Life. I hadn't seen that movie until I recently watched it, and because the reputation preceded it by so many decades, I didn't enjoy it perhaps as much as I should. Sometimes when you see a film, it's what you bring to it that helps shape your perception of it. My favourite festival movie, without any doubt, is the Laurel and Hardy short Big Business, where they are selling Christmas trees door to door in California.
Yes.
Door to door, yeah.
Two doors.
I forgot I was playing just a minute for a moment.
You were away, your thoughts were in the film.
Yes, they were,
But Stephen picked you up on that, and he's got 38 seconds to tell us something about my favourite festive film starting now.
My favourite festive film is The Exorcist, because nothing brings to mind the tension, the violence, and the brutal murder that I associate with Christmas like that movie. My Auntie Agatha used to shoot her tongue across the room, wrap it round my neck, and fling me against the wall. And my sister could revolve her head 360 degrees.
Giles challenge.
Repetition of head.
Yes. Giles, 16 seconds available. My favourite festive film starting now.
The chalice from the palace has the pellet with the poison, but the brew that is true is in the flagon with the dragon comes from Danny Kaye's wonderful film, The Court Jester, which is always my favourite festive film. With my children and wee grandchildren, a hyphenated phrase, I really enjoy celebrating.
So Giles Brandreth was again speaker. The whistle went, has increased his lead at the end of the round. The other 3 are almost equal in second place, a few points behind him. And Giles, it's actually your turn to begin. And the subject now, a real Christmas subject. How to fill a stocking. 60 seconds.
Should we buzz now?
Trying to keep it Christmassy if you can, Giles.
I'm not sure that's a good idea.
How to fill a stocking, Giles. 60 seconds starting now.
Because litigation is still pending with Scarlett Johansson's fiancé, I will indeed keep it very Christmassy, and I will start with the stocking and a tangerine.
Pam challenge.
I will.
I will.
You said I will
will.
twice.
I did.
So, Pam, you've got in with 52 seconds to go still. How to fill a stocking starting now.
The choice of stocking is crucial. I recommend a Lyle one in a shade called Tea Rose, which should be rolled carefully over the bunions, over the ankles, past the varicose veins. What?
Repetition of over.
Over. Yes. 37 seconds, Paul. How to fill a stocking starting now.
Well, in the old days, because a stocking was only a small thing, it would be an orange, perhaps a wooden toy, perhaps a photograph of your real father.
Oh, Stephen challenge.
Two perhaps.
Yeah,
Yes, more than one perhaps. So, Stephen, you've got the subject as well. We're going to hear from everybody on it. 30 seconds. How to fill a stocking starting now.
My favourite way to fill a stocking is to get an East End thug and put it over their head, and they can walk up to a man and say, "Give me your money!" What was wrong with that?
It was a repetition of
That's how
I
they
must
talk.
say, Stephen, you do bring a sense of anarchy to this programme. Right, Paul, correct challenge. Hesitation. 21 seconds. How to fill a stocking starting now.
When I think back to the first woman I fell in love with, I can see her face now. I can almost...
Stephen challenge.
2 I cans.
Yes,
Yes, 2 I cans. So, less anarchy, we hope, Stephen, but how to fill a stock. It is Christmas time, remember? 15 seconds starting now.
Start the getaway car, Trevor. We've got a Christmas meal to eat. I've got eggnog cooking on the stove, and I can't wait.
Gyles challenge.
Repetition of Christmas, because is it the phrase a Christmas stocking or just a stocking?
No, it's how to fill a stocking, actually,
Yeah.
quite right. And you repeated Christmas. But he was put off, because I talked about a Christmas stocking when I gave you the subject.
I know, we were all put off by listening
I think
to you.
I was...
But we carry on in the spirit of Christmas.
It is how to fill a stocking, Stephen. Benefit of the doubt to Stephen. He keeps going. Giles, I'm asking you in a strong lead. I'm asking you to show a little bit of Christmas spirit.
Of course, the Christmas spirit, absolutely.
Christmas spirit, right?
Absolute Christmas spirit.
Yes.
Carry on, Stephen. I mean, he's brought the exorcist into it, muggers, murder. But fine, of course, the spirit of Christmas is redolent in Stephen Mangan.
And there speaks the man who brought us Uncle Hubert.
7 seconds for you, Stephen, on how to fill a stocking starting now.
Perhaps the most famous stocking film.
Hesitation.
Yes, because he thought it was a rather festive film. He got the subjects muddled, didn't he? Filling a stocking, my favourite festive film. It's impossible. Stephen's got his head in his hands at the moment, listeners, and but Pam's got the subject, and she's got 4 seconds on how to fill a stocking, Pam, starting now.
Finally, popping the top of the stocking into a great knobbly suspender, which is...
So Pam Ayres, who then speaking to Whistleblowing, gained that extra point, and we are moving into the final round. Oh, what a lovely audience you are. They're very close. There's a spirit of Christmas exists between them. Oh, only 1 point separates them all. In descending order, Giles, Pam, Stephen and Paul. 1 point separating them in descending order. Oh, we've got a wonderful Christmas subject to finish on. Pam, it's your turn to begin too. Pantomimes. Tell us something about pantomimes in this game. 60 seconds starting now.
Having no wish to sound a discordant note, I must say that I detested pantomimes in the 70s when tired...
A Paul challenge.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Right, but no challenge when the rules are just a minute.
No.
Right. An incorrect challenge, Pam. You've still got 53 seconds. Pantomimes starting now.
When tired old pop stars came out and sang boring old songs.
Yes, Giles.
Repetition of old.
Yes,
Yeah,
there was
it
too much
was,
old there. And the 47 seconds still available. Giles, tell us something about pantomimes starting now.
I once appeared in a politically correct pantomime entitled Snow Green and the 7 Persons of Restricted Growth. Not an enormous success, though my essaying the part of Baron Hardup was confusing because this is a character that customarily appears in Cinderella, which I have also done. The pantomime dates back to the Greek and Roman theatre, but was turned into the entertainment we know through the Commedia dell'arte companies coming to this country.
Pam challenge.
I think it's all very pretentious myself.
Well, you've got to allow him to speak. That's his raison d'etre, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
Neither do I.
Pam, I gave him a number of bonus points. I gave one to Paul just then. You get one for that because we enjoyed it. But Giles was interrupted, so he keeps the subject. And 21 seconds, pantomimes with you, Giles, starting now.
I'm a particular admirer of the Victorian pantomime when people like Dan Leno and Mary Lloyd played the chief roles. In shows called Sinbad the Sailor, always a favourite in yesteryear, but now considered the unlucky panto.
Paul
Well, I suppose it's very pedantic and it is Christmas time, but not all the shows were called Sinbad the Sailor.
No.
I mean, not all the pantomimes in Victoria, but you know where I'm going.
No, it was a bit pedantic, but a correct challenge.
Yeah, it's a correct challenge.
So you get a point.
Yeah.
Paul, 7 seconds with you on pantomimes starting now.
I remember seeing Cliff Richard and the Shadows with Arthur Askew appearing at the London Palladium, and they were there, even though the Beatles were top 5 records in America. And they couldn't go.
Well, at the beginning of that round, I said 1 point separated them all in descending order, and it's exactly the same at the end of that round. In fourth place, but a very fine fourth place, was Stephen Mangan. Oh, the spirit of Christmas still exists in this audience, yeah. And 1 point ahead was Paul Merton. And 1 point ahead was Pam Ayres. And 1 point ahead, and our winner, Gyles Brandreth. Well, we do hope you've enjoyed this edition of our Christmas show of Just a Minute. It only remains for me to say thank you to these 4 fine players of the game. We're grateful to Trudy Stevens, who's helped me with the score. She's blown that whistle so delicately all through the year. We're grateful to our producer, Katie Tyrrell. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. And we're indebted to this lovely Christmas audience. And so, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and from our audience and our listeners, don't forget, tune in the next time we play Just a Minute!